All right, welcome to the Giants Huddle podcast. Today we got Coach Tom Coughlin. We're talking about your book, Coach, A Giant Win.
There it is.
Why did you decide to write this?
Well, we're 15 years out, okay? And Greg Hanlon, who was the writer with me, he and I were talking, and we thought that, in my opinion, this is the greatest Super Bowl win of all time, the greatest upset of all time, without a doubt. And when you look at where we are as a country, COVID, recessions, we've all been on our butts before. We've all got knocked down and had to get back up. But this is a book of hope. It's a book of inspiration. It's a book where, quite frankly, in 06, the media would run the head coach out of town. Didn't know whether they were going to bring us back or not. And when we did, we had some things we had to address and put back together. But it's a good book in that we are very reflective. And we talk about people, we talk about players, we talk about one game, Super Bowl XLII, which is, again, a tremendous, tremendous football game, which we won. We weren't supposed to win. Nobody gave us a chance to win. I love that about whether it be our New Yorkers or, in this case, it was Fox, the Fox people who had the game. Not a one of them ever picked us to win. Not even in Tampa, certainly not in Dallas. Dallas beat us twice. Certainly not in Green Bay, minus 24 degrees, and our quarterback and one of our receivers acted like it was 80 degrees out there. The ball was flying around, nice spiral. Yeah. I don't know how you did it. I really don't. I still don't. I went out pre-game with no gloves and nothing on my ears. I couldn't.
How long did you last?
I didn't know how I was going to get back inside. It was cold.
Well, I'm glad your face is finally recovered from that game.
There's a few spots up there that I don't think quite have, but that's the way it goes.
And was it fun to go back and watch some of the film of that season and just see kind of how it all worked out and how we even made the playoffs in the first case?
Yes, it was, because I had a chance. Greg Hanlon would ask me questions, and Greg, I got to look at tape. Yeah. I can't tell you the answer to that. So I'd go look at the tape, and it killed me that I couldn't run it back and forth. I don't know how to do that. It was on a computer, and I was
you couldn't rewind it.
I couldn't run back and forth. I didn't have that set up.
Yeah.
Which I should do something about that. But anyway, I had a lot of fun looking at the tape and the plays, and I'll never forget that 3rd and 11 with you and Steve Smith, and how you went. You saw what was happening defensively, and you trusted that kid. And he caught the ball, a normal flat route, 5 yards deep, and he made the first down, just scooted out of bounds across the stick. It was 3rd and 11.
Yeah.
And he made it. And you went right to him. There was no hesitation on your part. And it was like, holy cow. I remember watching it live. Eli, we got to get 11 yards out of this now. We can't be throwing it. Boom, he got it,
I figure it was 4-down territory at that point.
Yeah, you were probably right.
3rd and 11. If you can go get 6, 7, get
That's
to
what
4th
you were
and
thinking.
4.
There's no doubt.
But he did a great job. Like I said, we got a little pick with the Monty Toomer, and he did a great job of getting that first. You would hate to have a 4th and 2 or 4th and 1 right there. And then, that's...
Well, 4th and 1 would have been better than 4th and 2. I'll tell you that right now. But I do remember the one thing, and I remember listening to the telecast, and they had Troy Aikman and Joe Buck, and Troy saying, "I think this is the right call." Remember when we went for it on 4th and 1?
Oh yeah, early.
And I'm thinking, are you serious?
Yeah.
You think we're going to give the ball back to Brady at this point in time and think we're going to get it back?
Right.
So I had some fun with that myself.
In the season, there was a lot that went on even before the season. Training camp, it was Michael Strahan.
No Strahan.
We didn't, we kind of knew he was coming back. He was like, I don't know,
you
maybe.
knew more than I did.
Well, I figured he was just 15 years. He didn't want to go to training camp. He didn't want to go to training camp. He just wanted to come a few weeks late and come and play some football and play some games.
And he did. He walked in right at the end of camp. Remember?
I remember.
And I'm trying to think, how are we going to get this guy, in contact shape in order to make sure that he, because he had, what was it, in 06, he lost the season with a pec, I think. Yeah, so he was gone, and we surely did not want that to happen again. But it worked out for us. And, I kept in touch with him all the time. And I remember exactly what I said every time when it was over. I said, we'd love to have you back, but come back if your heart's in the right place, because we're going to need that out of you at this point in time, and by God, he did.
And also that year you hired Steve Spagnuolo to be the new defensive coordinator, and he comes in, and right off the get-go, it wasn't a smooth transition into the first game of the season, and first two games. What did we give up? 80 points.
Gave up 80 points in two games with my new defensive coordinator. But the thing about it was, I really enjoyed even the way Steve corrected. You know, he did a really an excellent job. Even as he was making corrections, he never ever put anybody on an island. You know, he never criticized to the extent that that someone would go pout somewhere. You know, he didn't coach like that, and that's Steve. You know, and he's still like that today. But yeah, that was our start. We gave up 80 points, and we were definitely uphill. And then we go to Washington, and we're down at halftime. Yep. You know, there's no change there, and then we take the lead, and we get, I look at that 3rd and 13. Remember that? 3rd and 13 at the plus 21. They go to the 1 yard line, and they rush down and clock the ball. I'm thinking
you've talked that we've gone over that scenario so many times. It was something we, as a team and as our offense, we would go over that scenario. Something we learned about not clocking it right there, not wasting a play. Don't waste it down right there. You know, they're precious. If all of a sudden something happens, you get in a tough situation.
And we always had our sequence, so we knew exactly what our sequence would be.
Right.
Where the pass comes in based on, your timeouts.
How much time
you had, how many timeouts you had. And, they had obviously rehearsed it because they clocked it, and then they threw their play action pass, and we knew that was and then they, without huddling, ran the same play twice to the left side.
Right.
Kavika Mitchell penetrates, makes the first tackle. Aaron Ross makes the second one. We win the game. And that sent us on our way. We were the elation in the locker room.
We go on to win 6 straight.
We won 6 in a row.
Right there, and now we're kind of in a good position. And then we hit a little patch where we weren't playing great football.
Yeah, that's true.
We go and lose 4.
Up and down.
4 in a row. But then
we went 4-4 in the second half.
Right. Yeah.
And we probably should have won 12 games that year instead of 10. But we kept people hanging.
Yeah.
And we kept coming back. We kept getting off the floor.
And then we go to Chicago. We had a big, down in the fourth quarter in Chicago. We kind of have 2 big drives. And go down there and score and take the lead and win that game. That was a big win for us.
And it showed our depth too, because Ward ended up making a great contribution that night too.
That's right. And then Buffalo was a interesting game. It was probably the worst weathered game I have ever played in my life.
Never seen anything.
I mean, it was rain, it was sleet, it was snowing, it was cold, it was windy. I mean, I think I couldn't catch the shotgun snaps. They were moving so much. We were fumbling shotgun snaps. I think in the second half, I only threw maybe 2 or 3 passes, and we were down.
We were down 14-0 right away. Right away.
Yeah.
And nobody scored going into the wind.
Right.
Nobody. Everything had to be the wind at your back. But I'll remember that too, because it was rain, it was sleet, it was hail, it was snow, and it was 40-mile-an-hour winds, and it was unbelievable. Yeah. And when you look, I don't know whether you noticed this or not, because I never paid attention until that big storm that just occurred a little bit ago.
Yeah.
And they showed exactly where Orchard Park is, right at the tip of Lake Erie. So if it's coming, the snow's coming off the lake, they're going to get the maximum of it. And that proved true that day for sure.
And that game was interesting because going into it, we knew if we win this game, we're going to secure a spot in the playoffs.
We're in.
Right? And we have 2 games left. So if we win this game, we're in. But we also know next week, we got the undefeated New England Patriots, who are playing as good as anybody in the NFL. Probably, might be the best team, or were the best team at that moment going in. So we're kind of saying, hey, we need to win. We need to win this week.
No doubt.
Let's not wait till next week and have to play those guys. And second half, ran the ball. Ahmad Bradshaw hits an 80-yard, running 36 power, I believe, and just
He's
cuts
still
it back.
Going. I can see him. He had the wind at his back. He went fast.
He was running fast. And then, so we win that game, and we secure our spot in the playoffs. And that next week, there's a lot of question about whether we were going to play. The starters were going to play that final game of the regular season, knowing we had already secured a spot. What went through your thinking that week about how you wanted to handle that?
Well, as soon as that game was over and we got back here, the next morning I sat there in my office and I started to to really think about it, because the questions came right after the game. You know, they don't even. It's like, all right, here's what we ask if they do win. You know, and it's all about you're gonna arrest anybody, and that always bugs me. So I got in the office and I thought about it, and I thought, you know, I'm a historian, and here we are, the New York Giants, okay, the flagship team of the National Football League, the red, white, and blue. It's never going to be said that we didn't put our best foot forward, that we didn't try to win. And so when I came in the next day and I told you guys about it, you guys were great. You were ready to go. And you made the same kind of commitment, and for the right reason. So it was a Saturday game. You remember, the game was a Saturday. We had our preparation. We were going to put our best foot forward. We were going to do the best job we can. We had a team coming in here that was averaging 36 or 38 points a game.
Sure.
You know, and after 16 games, Brady had thrown 50 touchdown passes. Moss had caught 23. You know, they were an unbelievable. They had a big back. They had a guy catching the ball. They had it all.
Yeah.
They had tight ends that could catch the ball over the middle, could run well. You remember in the Super Bowl, we got the pass interference call in the end zone. So, I mean, they were the real deal. They were fourth on defense. They were loaded on defense too. They had great people back and forth. They had their pass rusher, Darius Thomas, on the right side.
Yep.
And we go out and we play hard. We're leading in the fourth quarter in that game, and the television audience is going nuts because, you know, they're trying to get to 16-0.
Sure.
We're trying to win 11 games.
Yeah.
You know, and they get the big play to Moss at the end of the game, and they beat us 38-35. But I still remember I walked off behind. I was walking behind the center. What was his name? Boston College kid. Yeah, Copeland. And I heard him say a couple things like, these guys are for real, you know, kind of thing. And so I knew, as we all did, that we could play with them, and that was a nice way for us to go into. And it wasn't without cost. Now,
right.
You know, because the first things I had to answer, Kavika Mitchell had the MCL, and Sean O'Hara had
center.
the MCL.
Yeah, we lose our center for playoffs.
And he didn't play the first game.
Right.
You know, I don't know how those guys did it, but it was playoffs.
Yeah.
They got back for the second one. But the first one, Gray came in. Remember Rugemer?
Yeah, Rugemer.
Rugemer played pretty well.
He
played pretty well. Our first quarter wasn't very good in Tampa, but then we got going. And but that game and the John Madden phone call that I played for you guys, I'll never forget that. I'll never forget walking in and seeing that light on about 5 o'clock in the morning, the next morning, Sunday morning. And there it was. And it was John Madden saying, you know, and he was emotional. He said, Tom, this is John Madden. I just want you to know what you and your team did last night was the greatest thing that's happened in the National Football League in the last 10 years, because we play to win. Our game is the most competitive sport known to man, and we don't rest our players. We play to win. We owe it to everybody. And it was a shining moment for the NFL. I hope they get it. This is exactly how he said it.
Sure.
I hope they get it over there, what you just did for the National Football League and for our reputation. And John said, you know, his voice was cracking. He was emotional. And when I played it for you guys,
played it for the team.
I hope that meant a lot, as much to you as it did to me.
Sure.
And then we jumped right into, of course, everybody picked us to lose at Tampa. So we were right back in good company again.
Yeah, and I think it gave us a lot of confidence, at least from the offensive standpoint, playing that game versus New England. We had not played real well offensively. We'd found ways to win some games, but just weren't playing complete games. All of a sudden, from the first series, he came out, hit Plexico in a deep post, and played well, scored points, scored well in the red zone, and fell a little short. But I think going into Tampa and say, hey, we can be a good offense.
We can do this,
we can protect the ball. We can run it. We got Plaxico Burress. We got Amani Toomer. Steve Smith was coming around as an offense. We can be productive, and we're not. We might not go score 40 every game, but we can control the ball and shorten the game, and our defense can play well. And so I think it kind of gave us confidence. And going into Tampa, I think we knew offensively, hey, we're not going against a powerhouse offense in Tampa. Right. They weren't scoring tons of points, but they were good on defense. So we went in saying
they were good on defense.
We got to don't make it easy for their offense. Don't turn it over. And we hit a bunch of ran the ball well, hit some back shoulder stuff to Plaxico, and we're able to go down there and win that game, which was big. And then for the big going to Dallas.
Yeah,
That'd be our third. We'd already lost to them twice.
Twice.
And there was something that happened, and whether you would know how you found out about some tickets in their locker room. What was that story?
That was great. That was a great story. Triggs found out for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Triggs was just sitting in a team meeting when I talked to. I said, "Where's Triggs?" And he goes like this in the back. But he found out. And so he came to me, and I remember I didn't make a big deal about it, but I made sure you guys knew. And I said, fellas, maybe we shouldn't play this game. Maybe Dallas has just jumped ahead of us. They're on the way. Jerry put 2 tickets on. I know it.
2 tickets to the NFC
Championship game.
Yeah, on their
because they were going to host it.
Right.
If they win, they host it.
Yeah.
So he covered everybody's stool in the locker room with the two tickets to the NFC Championship game.
Right.
So we kind of let it be known, and I don't think it sat very well with us. And we took the ball, if you remember now. It was what was it, 46 seconds?
Yeah.
We were on a -30 when we started.
Right.
And you drove the ball right down the field, had big play to Boss,
Right.
Amani contributed. Yeah, and we drove right down the field, and we scored right before the half, and it was 10-10 then.
Yeah.
They were never the same.
Right.
Whatever took place, we shook them when we drove it the length of the field. Because I can tell you this, and I took great pride in this too. There have been times, okay, when we've had more time than 46 seconds where we've kind of looked at the first play or something and said,
hey, let's run it.
Okay, let's see.
If we hit a big one,
see
then
how
we'll
we're going to do.
for it.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. We'll see how we're going to do.
Yeah.
And we've done things and then not done things. And I've walked in the locker room and I get a look from one of the mayors, one of the owners, like,
"What are you doing?
Are you crazy?" I get that look, and I want to attack them. I don't want to. But in this game, 46 seconds, and of course, in today's game, 13 seconds.
Yeah, 13 seconds.
Kansas City scored. And I kidded Andy Reid even about that. That's a whole different story. But yeah, we drive it down and score, and they're not the same.
Yeah,
we're not the same. Yeah. Now they are on our 25-yard line going in at the end of the game.
Yeah,
and we do a really great job of controlling that, and then R.W. McQuarters intercepts the ball in the end zone. And I should have give Romo a little grief about that, because I saw Romo a few years later, and all he did was give me that look. Never said hi. I didn't say hi to him. I didn't shake his hand. He didn't stick his hand out. He just gave me that look. I should have reminded him of that.
And then obviously the next week, go to Green Bay, -24 degrees. All they wanted to do was talk about how cold it was going in, and and they were obviously good. Brett Favre in Lambeau at home, and everything was kind of stacked against us, and the odds were against us. But Plaxico Burress, they played a lot of press man to man,
yes, they did.
Just up in your face, and we threw what we called fade stops. And so if he got over the top, I'd throw a fade. If he didn't get over the top, I was on back shoulder him. If they played off, he ran a hitch route. And we kept doing different versions of it. One time I looked that way and I went and hit Amani Toomer down the left sideline actually, and he got 2 feet in, which he was always great at keeping his feet and knowing where he was. And we found a way to get that win and win that game. A couple times. What about times? He'd missed 2. Do you think about not sitting him out for that last field goal?
I sure did. But here's the deal. In the first half, I slid up next to him, and I said, Lawrence, can you make a 46-yard field goal? He turned around and walked away from me. He never even would answer. He wouldn't even answer. Of course, the ball, I don't know how you threw it. The ball was like a rock. It was hard as a rock.
It's slippery.
It was slippery. It was freezing cold. If you got the snap one little bit off, if you were up under the center, it was tough. Yeah. It was really tough. And I always give Plaxico a lot of credit, because today he wouldn't get away with half of what he gets away with, because he did a great job physically. He at the top of the route, he might just knock you out of the way and catch the ball, and they let us play in those days.
Sure.
It was a lot different. And of course, they'd knock you out of bounds and it wouldn't get called too. So it kind of went both ways. But that day, as you know, because you put us in position, we were in great position once with a field goal try that he missed. And we're even closer, and we got a bad snap. And so we really didn't make an attempt. It was a kick that went off to the side. So in this situation, they get the ball. The first play, Favre throws Corey Webster, who had great hands.
Yeah.
You know, he could have been a receiver if we needed a guy to play in that position. You know, he had great hands. He catches the ball and runs it back to 34, 36,
right.
somewhere like that. We don't make a yard.
We don't do much.
We don't make a yard. We don't make a yard. So now it's 4th down. I just step back and watch the kicker. And he drops his cape and runs out there. I yell, field goal, field goal, field goal. So now we go out on the field and the coaches are in my ear. No, coach, don't do that. What if we miss it? Look where the field position, where they'll be. I don't pay any attention to these guys. So out they go, and he could have made it from 55.
Yeah.
I mean, he hit the heck out of that one.
Yeah.
Boom. And we go in and have some more chicken soup or whatever it was we were drinking because it was colder than cold.
It was cold.
We had hot chocolate and we had chicken broth or something in
Yeah.
it, and it tasted good.
And so we go to Arizona for the Super Bowl. And the first time we played them in the regular season, high scoring, you know, back and forth. This one, a little bit different. We started off well we had a long drive. We had, about a 8 or 9 minute drive to start the game.
Right.
End up getting a field goal, but really a good start. Just in our minds, let's keep Tom Brady. Let's keep
him
Randy
over there on the
Moss.
side.
Keep him on the sideline.
Yeah,
Let's
no
shorten
question.
this game, shorten
No
the
question.
possessions, and we were
question.
able to do that. There weren't many possessions in the game,
No.
especially in the first half. And basically, it comes down to we had to lead in the fourth. They took it over, but we got the ball with 2 minutes left.
2:39.
What was going through your mind?
2:39. I watched your eyes when you left the sideline. You were in a hurry to get out there and be in position to win the game. And it was real exciting when the play came up, when the Tyree play came up. I'm looking almost right at you, and Mike Carey is just behind you, and I'm thinking, there's 3 guys had a hold of you. 3 guys. I don't know how you did it. You wiggled, and dropped the shoulder and came roaring out the other end. I was worried Mike was going to blow the play dead.
Sure.
And Mike, don't blow this dead. Give him a chance, give him a chance, give him a chance. And then the ball goes down the middle of the field, and my next thing is, oh, man, don't overthrow this Eli in the middle of the field. Don't. And Tyree came back. He runs a post. He's coming back to you. And he goes up with 2 hands and catches that ball. And I say it all the time. It ticks me off when people start telling me about lucky and all that crap. It wasn't lucky. That was a great play because when he got his arm stripped away by Rodney Harrison, he had 1 hand left, and the only way he could support it was if he pinned it to his helmet, and he did that. Next thing Harrison did was go down and cut his knees out. I mean, if you play in the backyard, somebody goes across your knees, the ball's going out. You're just going to drop the ball because your self-preservation takes over. He hung on to the ball, and here he is laying on the ground. He still wouldn't give it to him. They were still trying to knock it out of his hands even after he was down. And then, I took the timeout so we could get everybody back up the field. But, boy, now, how did you guys feel on the field when that happened, when that play was made?
Yeah, you just didn't know. You didn't know if he really caught it or not. We were trying to run down there. Hey, maybe we should spike it, but we had to call a timeout.
Yeah.
It was just going to take too much time.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember going up to David asking him, like, David, did you catch it? And he said, yeah, I caught it. I'm like, David, don't lie to me. I remember I've asked Plaxico many times, like, hey, Plaxico, did you catch it? He's like, yeah, I caught it. And you see the replay, and it bounced like 3 times before it got to him. I said, don't lie to me. He says, I promise you, I caught it. Ball never touched the ground. And so you saw it on the replay.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people, when I talked to fans, I knew we were going to win at that point. I'm like, I didn't know. We still had to go score a touchdown.
Right.
We still needed 35 more yards.
We had a big play, but we still had to get some work done.
Yeah, we had a
there.
couple third down, hit Steve Smith over the middle, hit Steve Smith on the sideline, and eventually they finally came out and played all-out blitz.
Sure did.
And had Plaxico 1-on-1, 6'6", 5'8" corner.
But I like what you said to him coming out of the huddle, though. Tell us all again what you said to Plaxico.
With Plaxico?
When you came out of the huddle.
Yeah, we were just saying if they go all out, blitz 0, that's where I'm coming to. They in that moment, they played a lot of zone, quarters coverage, or they went blitz 0. And just said, hey, if I'm just going to keep the fade on, I'm going to, throw it up high to you, but hey, give a little move like you might run a slant. If they're, because a lot of times if you're blitzing, they'll think you're going to throw something quick. And so he just gave that little move, and I had to throw it quick because they're bringing one more than we're blocking. So I never really saw him open. I'm just saying I'm going to throw it up to him, but he stuck and was wide open. I just wanted, at that point, I saw him so open. I'm like, I just wanted the ball to come down. Please, just come down.
I did too.
Come down.
I was on the sideline. Come on, ball.
Yeah,
come on
get
down.
down
Come
there.
on down. Let's go. Come on down. And then, of course, The people want to know what I was thinking. Well, guess what? There's 35 seconds left,
right.
and this guy's got the ball.
Exactly.
You know, that's what I'm
I
thinking.
mean, they had a play to Moss down the left sideline that was a little too close for comfort there.
2 of them.
Yeah.
He threw the ball 60 yards. That time he rolled
to
right
the right
so he
and
could
threw it
get
back
gathered.
left, yeah.
And it was close. I mean,
Yeah.
that was almost right on the money.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, Jay Elford drilled him. Remember,
That's
Jay
right.
hit him hard. He's a tough son of a gun. We sacked him 5 times and hit him 16 or 18 times.
And talk about a little bit about that celebration back in New York afterwards.
Unbelievable. I remember saying to John Mara, I said, John, I'm not much for parades and all that. John looked at me and he said, you're going to want to go to this one. And I didn't know what to expect. Now I had seen Eisenhower come back, the ticker tape parades that
down the
show you
Canyon of Heroes.
Historically, down the Canyon of Heroes, Eisenhower and MacArthur and Truman,
Sure.
All these heroes that have come back from the war. And I had seen that. But to live it was unlike anything that I've ever seen in my life.
A couple million people backed up as far as you could see.
Yeah, you look down the
going
side
all
streets
over the
and
place.
you can't see the end of
The people.
And they stood and they did it. And then there's my buddy who's the pastor at one of the churches down there. And we turn the corner and there's a stepladder out there. He's in his full vestments. Jim Cooper. He's out there with incense. And I'm thinking, Jim, you better hope your parishioners don't see you out there. He was having fun with that too. But yeah, that was a great experience. And then coming back to the stadium was just as great an experience. 35,000 people waiting for us in Giant Stadium. And we basically review the whole thing again, Strahan's stomp and it was just lots of memories.
It was great.
Lots of great memories.
It was great sitting with you and reliving those and thinking about them again. And everybody can do that in your new book. And so I'm glad you wrote this, and it's good to reminisce and for everybody.
It helped me.
It was an unbelievable season, an unbelievable game. And the Patriots, I've gotten to know Tom a little bit over the years, and I never mentioned this game or mentioned any of my games I played against him, but he brings up this one. It bothers him because they would go down as the greatest team in the history of the NFL, and they can't say that. I've got a lot of letters and notes from that 72 Dolphin team that went undefeated saying thank you. Saying thank you.
My buddy Zonka was
exactly.
he was on that team. But here's something. I look back and I think about things like this. So I have to go over for a press conference. It's either Friday or Saturday. Friday, I guess. It's Friday afternoon. You probably had to go to the same one. So I go over and I'm on next, and I look up. Coach Shula he's at the dais. He's up there with a press conference. So I just stay there waiting for him, and he comes down after he's done. I think he's in his wheelchair. He's in a wheelchair, and I go over and say hello to him. Hey, Tom, how you doing? Good. He never says a word. To his credit, not a word.
Really?
You can see in his eyes what he means.
Sure.
But he's not saying anything.
Yeah.
Which, he wants to protect that
no doubt
17-0 season too.
No doubt.
Because that was a great Dolphin team. There's no doubt about it. But and I put that together with all the things that happened for us the next day, and that was a remarkable experience.
No, it was great. It was great, and thank you for coming on the podcast, Coach. We got to do it again.
Thank you for having me on.
All right.
Appreciate it.
And that's a wrap.